Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Speak to Transform show. I have a very special guest that you're going to want to tune in and listen to. If you have ever been concerned about maybe the lack of kindness that you see in the world, maybe among children or at the workplace or in the community. Well, my guest today has written a book about raising kind children and how to become the CEO of your family to create lasting impact and change. So let me welcome Teresa Ramirez. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Lisa. So excited to be here.
Yes, so good to have you. Well, before we get into the book, I would love it if you would share with our listeners today how you came to write a book about kindness.
Wow, it all started back in 2018. I There was a school shooting, and God wanted me to write a letter to those students, to tell them, sympathize with them, grieve with them, but then
Mm,
empower them that they can make a difference, that they themselves can make a change. And that's going to sit with that kid that's sitting alone at lunch.
wow.
Somebody's dropping pencils or books, help them pick them up. Greeting your teachers, your principals, the cafeteria workers, all the things, but that kids maybe not do on their own. So I did all that. I wrote the letter, sat on it for probably a year. But then I came back and did a 21-day kindness challenge for kids. And it's just, who do you as a child encounter during your day? So you wake up, you got mom and dad, your siblings, how to be kind to them. Then the next day was, you go out the door. So you've got a bus driver or a carpool driver, be kind to them, and so on and so on. Throughout the day, you run into different people. And that was great. I did road rage is always the big one that everybody's like, but I have to do that. They cut me off. and and I was actually focusing toward the teen drivers at that point. But all those
Yes.
things, went and talked to schools. Everything was going great. And then COVID hit. So like everybody else, we landed in front of our computers on social media.
Mhm.
And, like you did, I did, we're all talking, we're all reading everything that's out there. And I found out how nasty and cruel adults were to each other. I was
Mm.
actually shocked. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I asked the nieces and nephews, I said, do you see what your mom posts? Oh, yeah. We don't want her posting about us. So we want to make sure they monitor mom and dad's social media. So I found out they're reading it
Wow.
for maybe another reason. But what they're learning is that if mom and dad is posting something nasty, they can too.
Wow. Wow.
So let's
That's
shift our focus to
yeah.
parents. So
Wow.
that's
So
how it
this
all got started.
wow. So what was your background before you landed on this?
My background before was more than 30 years in the health insurance industry. It really, it really had nothing to do with kindness, but I saw a lot of unkind things through my
Mm.
travel. And then I
Yeah.
spent 5 years caring for my parents and saw a lot of kind outpouring from other people while you're going
Mm.
through that journey. So, and like I said, then during that time is when the school shooting thing happened. And just kind of started a little bit at a time formulating it.
Hmm.
Then talking to my nieces and nephews and talking to their kids who are in school, middle school, high school, getting their take on some things, and then doing the research online and really digging into it. So that's, it's all self-taught, but there's a lot of research and collaboration that went into it.
Wow. So what I hear you saying too is that out of really an act of compassion, when you heard about the school shooting, you felt prompted to reach out and to help in some way. Is that correct?
Yes, yes, yes. I
Wow.
truly felt God guided me to that.
Wow.
That this is a fruit of the spirit. Kindness is one of the
Mhm.
fruits of the spirit, and this is where He wants me to go.
Wow. So even that one act of kindness led to all these things to now you have written a book, and not only written a book, you actually won an award, the Impact Author Award, which and just recently I saw. Let me just bring up your book here before we continue on. And I would love to know also, while I'm doing is what are some of the impact that you have seen on parents or children? So let me just make sure we can see it here. I'm going to bring it up. Here's the book on Amazon, Raising Kind Children: How to Become the CEO of Your Family to Create Lasting Impact and Change. Can you talk a little bit, first of all, about what you mean by the CEO of your family? Like
Yeah,
that's a specific choice of a word there.
it is, but I realized when I'm listening to the parents and watching what they were posting on social media, I realized parents have to take control. Your kids watch you more than anybody else.
Mm,
They emulate you more than anybody else. And so I just thought, I came from corporate world for 30 years, and the CEO sets the tone, sets the philosophy and the values for their corporation. Well, the family is a smaller corporation. So what do you want to instill in your children? So that's kind of how the thought process went. And I had parents who sat down, and actually they came up with, these are the values we want to talk about. And they sat down, one couple sat down with their two teenage boys and said, this is what we're thinking. And the boys said, that's great, but we want to add something. We
wow.
want to eliminate the word hate from our language, because they had noticed what happens when you use the word hate.
Wow, that's
So
powerful.
yeah, it's very powerful. And so that's why I always said, yes, you set, as parents, be the CEOs, set the values, but then get your kids' input, because you don't know what they might be experiencing, and they have something to input.
That's so true because that goes along with a principle that I heard years ago from one of my mentors. He said people buy into, and actually from a speaking point of view, but it works in the context of what you're just talking about. People buy into what they help create.
Yes, yes.
And so what I hear you saying is just including your children in that process of what kind of a culture do you want us to create here in the home? And as they have input, they think about that and have input,
Mhm.
they're more they're more apt to now actually nurture and cultivate that alongside you. Is
Yeah,
that
it just builds awareness.
mhm. That's so good, and even in the home, I'm sorry, in the school or other places. So, what are some things that you share in your book about helping parents do this? What are some other tips that you wanna
Yeah,
leave with our listeners?
I want to emphasize it's simple. Okay, we're not planning this big, huge thing. So, because parents freak out, we have to add one more thing to my plate, and they go freak out. So, we're not trying to
Mm,
freak them out. It's
yeah.
just keep it simple. Just your day to day activities. Like I had done the kindness challenge. Who do you encounter every day? How can you be kind to that person every day? And one of my favorite stories is the impact of a smile and hello, and
Mm.
never underestimate its power. And a friend became a parking garage attendant after they retired, just to give him something to do. And he loved it, and evidently it showed. But when he went on vacation for 2 weeks, he comes back, and his regular parking people said, "Where have you been? I've had the worst 2 weeks of my life." And he's like, "What are you guys talking about?" And they said, informed him how impactful his good morning and his smile, how it started their day off on the right note, on the right tone, and it carried through the day. And when it wasn't there, they said they just had the worst days of their lives. And he looked at me and he just, "You always said a smile and hello goes a long way." He goes, "But I never understood the true impact until someone told me how I impacted them." And it's simple. It's just, I just want to emphasize how simple. It doesn't have to be the grand gestures all the time. Those are great, not emphasizing
Mhm.
that, but keep it small.
It's so good, so powerful. Yeah, sometimes but I love what you said also earlier in terms of how you gave simple things for, say, the students to do and things like that,
Mhm.
that sometimes people, if they're not used to that or whatever, this it just giving them something simple that gives
Mhm.
them confidence as well, right? It that they
Right.
can do this. Mhm.
Yeah, we did. I know I gave some teachers an idea of if you catch a student doing something kind, give them a lollipop, give them a Jolly Rancher, reward them, and then other kids are going to watch and see, and they're going to want that. And
S Good.
it's a Jolly Rancher, it's a sucker.
Yes,
So,
yes, yeah.
but they all want one now,
Right, right, yeah. Or if you don't wanna give them sugar, give them a sticker or something.
or a sticker, or yes.
But yeah, it's reward positive behavior, reward
Mhm.
kindness. I love that. And so what is something that you have seen as, I mean, you shared that one story. Is there another story you can share about an impact of someone who either became aware of this, maybe a child? So since your book is
Mhm.
about raising children, right?
Yeah, I can use it because my great nieces and nephews, I'm telling you, are my best resources. And my one nephew was in junior high, so I'm thinking around 6th grade, and he was in the lunchroom, and there was a kid in a wheelchair, and he couldn't carry his lunch chair and push his wheelchair at the same time.
Mm,
And my nephew just noticed and said, "Here, I'll carry that for you where you want to sit." And the kid kind of shrugged, and he goes, "Well, come sit with us." And he did. And come to find out, my nephew is an athlete and he sits with mostly athletes. Well, this kid in the wheelchair knew every sports statistic out there.
wow.
They, from that one act of kindness, they made a great friend, and they were friends for like 3 years until everybody then went to different high schools. But
Wow.
that's
That's
his
so good.
parents his parents emulate kindness all the time and emphasize it. They weren't there, no one was watching, and he just knew to do that. And I think that's what you want your kids to be, kind when you're not watching.
So good. Yeah, that's so powerful. So what are you hoping people will come out of when people read your book? What do you hope will happen? Because I know you got a vision.
I do have a vision. I have a big vision, actually. I said I just want them, the kinder we are, and I'm going to emphasize this, is that people think that kindness is kind of fluffy. And that's a really nice thing, but is it going to do anything? And
Mhm.
I want to emphasize, yes, there are studies that show if, Lisa, you and I exchange an act of kindness, our serotonin levels go up. And
Mm,
serotonins are happy hormones. So you and I are happy. But the fascinating thing is, anyone that observes that, anybody that watches that one act of kindness, their happy hormones also go up.
wow.
So you're creating that ripple of kindness that builds and spreads. And if we're all doing it in our little corner of the world, those ripples are going to eventually merge together and create a wave of kindness that washes across this country and around the world. So that's my big vision. But it's doable. I
Yeah.
think there's studies that show that it is doable. So it's just like the kids with the candy. Well, they saw somebody else get the little Jolly Rancher. Well, I want one, but it's starting to spread that ripple. And it was with a little piece of candy. It doesn't take much, and the smiles.
That's so good. Yes, I love that. So, if you're listening to that and you think, "I wish the world would be a happier place," then maybe that's your cue for you to start that ripple effect
Yeah,
based
yeah,
on what Teresa just said and about the power of just one act of kindness can do for the people around you as well who witness that. I mean, I see that at my husband is a very encouraging person, and often when we're out in public, he'll be encouraging clerks and different people, and you see the
mhm,
effect, even the people around, they begin to smile, just
yeah,
watching the interaction or the as he gives kind words to people. And so it's so true, is sometimes we overcomplicate it.
yeah. It's just, and in talking to people, I know, people, especially servers, for some reason, we do not are not always kind to servers in a restaurant. And I
Mm,
don't know what that's all about. But yeah, talk to them. Ask them how their day's going. See how that's going. And another story, Lisa, if you've got a minute,
yes.
is we did that actually. I was having lunch with a friend, and the server comes up, and I'm telling you, it was crazy. What do you want? That's how she starts. Not even hi, how you doing? What do you want? And we're like, well, we have a couple questions. I don't know. I was told to come over and take your order. What do you want? We're like, okay. So we placed our order and we got what we were supposed to. It went fine, but I don't think she ever came back and refilled a coffee or a water or anything. And at the end, she comes down and slams the bill on the table. We're like, oh my gosh. And we had the conversation. Should we call the manager over? Because we were within our rights to call the manager over and say, and complain. And we did. We thought about it. It took a minute, but we thought about it. And then I thought, no, we're not going to do that. So we went ahead and paid. We tipped her normally. We didn't dock her for anything. And then on her receipt, I wrote a smiley face, and you are designed to shine. And then we picked our stuff up and we just walked out the door. Do you know she chased us out into the parking lot? And at first I was like, uh-oh. And tears. And thank you so much. I needed to hear that today.
Wow. Wow.
She spun around and ran back in. And my friend and I are just looking at each other going, I didn't expect that. But yeah. So yeah, be kind to your servers. They're people too, and they have stuff going on in their lives. And I have no idea what was going on in her world, but it wasn't good. And it had nothing to do with me. It's whatever was at home or happened last week. But
so good.
We turned that around. That's the whole thing. We want to turn it around and turn it into a positive.
That is such a powerful story. A true kindness ambassador and a simple act of kindness can change a person's day, can really change a person's life. There have been life and death situations. So what a powerful mission that you are on, Teresa, and a movement that you are creating with kindness. And so I want to encourage you, if you're listening here today, even if your kids are younger and you are, even if your kids are older and out of the house, you still want to get this book and give it to either some friends or give it as a gift, or maybe if you've got grandkids, you can give it to your kids and help them to raise kind children. But this is a great resource for any library, any school, any place where people are coming together and just interacting, which of course is everywhere in the world. That's why it's such a powerful mission. And so, Teresa, thank you so much. Where can people find your book? I know it's on Amazon. Is that the preferred place you want them to go?
That is the preferred place. And then I do have a freebie I'd like to offer your audience.
Absolutely.
75 acts of kindness checklist. So if you're standing there and you've got, I don't even know where to start. This checklist starts with simple smile and hello, all the way to planting trees to save the planet. So you and your kids can sit down and choose which one you want to do every day or every week, whatever works.
And where can they find that?
That is, we're going to put a link below, and it's a freebie, and it'll take you to the journeyandkindness.com site. But I'll provide you the link.
You'll provide it with me. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Teresa, for this interview today. And so if you are listening today, I want to encourage you to go and pick up that book. It is an award-winning book, but not only that, it is a life-changing book into the hands of people who implement it. And you don't even have to be a parent. You can apply these same principles at the workplace, in your community, wherever you find yourself, wherever you are with people in your life, and just watch the impact it'll not only have on you, but on everybody around you. Thank you so much, Teresa.
Thank you, Lisa.
Bye, everyone. As you're listening today, you may have felt prompted to say, I want to become a much better speaker. I want to be able to speak with confidence, clarity, and transformational impact. I want to invite you to check out the link in the comments below, wherever you're listening to this. Your voice is an instrument of transformation and needs to be heard, so let it be heard.